The cold stone of the monument was still shining with the remnants of the rain the day before. Stop at the doorway of my house in Nur, still wearing the black of mourning, observed Roman Andreevich Korolyov commanding the children as a foreman in full work. Not 6 months passed, but they were already ready to nullify the will through the legal channels. "Arrange your things, Anna," echoed her voice through the room where, only yesterday, she rested Kirill's coffin. Herman and Timofeev were carrying my grandmother's carved chair, the same one where Kirill spent the nights, flipping through the local newspaper while checking the cell phone between news and another. "This is home invasion. I will call the police right now," I said, already dialing the number. Article 330 of the Penal Code, not to mention the exchange of locks without my authorization. Roman Andreevich turned to me with an ironic smile on his face tanned for time, that smile of whom he knows that has influence in the right places. "Flame, flame. My nephew heads a department in the Interior Ministry. This house has been from Korolyov 3 generations ago. My father built, I ended up. Now it's the turn of my children. You. For us, you are just a stranger. Let's fight in court, I can be sure. Years, I was the wife of Kirill Korolyov, a veterinarian and owner of the Vicenta Clinic on Melodiajnaya Street. We thought we had built a real family in this house near NNY, property recorded in his name, which he renovated from scratch after his grandfather's inheritance. I understood how naive I was to believe that that family really accepted me. The morning after the funeral, I returned from my sister Gina's house in Vlasica, and came across new locks. Inside, the Korolyov acted as absolute owners, as if I were an unwanted tenant. Roman Andreevich, in the center of that chaos, orchestrated my eviction with the same naturalness as he would get rid of an old furniture. "Kirill would not approve that," I muttered as I dialed 102. "Kirill is no longer here," he growled. "It has always been weak. From the first day, we warned, this nurse just wants to know about his money, but he was overwhelming. Now the show is over. For the judiciary, we recover everything as it should be." Each word hurt like a whip. 8 years of family dinners where my presence was tolerated forcibly. 8 years of conversations interrupted with a dry sorry when I was trying to participate. 8 years being treated as a maid who, by mistake, had sat at the boss's table. "Hello, police." I stared in the eyes of Roman Andreevich as I spoke on the phone. "Nani neighborhood, Lesnaya Street, number 14. A group has invaded my house, changed the locks and is removing my belongings. Yes, I am the owner, widow of the owner. Send a car immediately." Herman approached his father, panting after carrying the furniture. "Dad, are we not exaggerating? The policeman will come, we'll draft occurrence." "Hey! All our steps are covered," said Roman Andreevich, raising his voice. "We will open the inventory, we will dispute the will. No 6 months have passed, we will do everything within the law. Out of here." They destroyed my life before my eyes, but, as always, underestimated me. They did not know about the main one. Kirill never underestimated them. And he prepared. From the beginning, my relationship with the Korolyov family has been a minefield. 8 years ago, when Kirill took me to meet them, I was received with a courtesy that looked more like a sentence. I, chief nurse in the surgical sector of the regional hospital, which had shifted my place after the technical course in Barnaul, was clearly not. Up to their son, a successful veterinarian, heir to a family who, in the 1990s, had bought half the city. "A practical girl," commented Natalia Nikolaevna that first night, and the way she said practice sounded like hunter of fortunes. While helping to clean the table, I heard them discuss the expansion of the veterinary clinic. "In your profession, I imagine that knowing how to adapt is essential," she let go, as who plays a poisoned knife disguised as a compliment. The acid comments continued throughout the dating and intensified after the marriage. They never lost the chance to mention the daughters of friends, those who studied at MGU or at least in federal universities. When we announced the engagement, Roman Andreevich went straight to his conversation between men. "Understand well, Anya. It's not any apartment in a Soviet building. They are houses, land, business. All this should be in the family." Kirill exploded, "Something rare. What agreement, father? We are forming a family, not a commercial society. Family is family, Business is business. Anna is smart, she understands, insisted Roman Andreevich. I was silent, unwilling to cause a scandal, but inside, I spoke as if I already had a plan to steal the heritage of their son. He never crossed their minds that their goods did not interest me. I loved Kirill for the way I cared for the animals, how I spent clear nights saving a sick dog or cried when a patient lost. But he saw everything. I noticed the uncomfortable silence when I was trying to participate in the conversations. Invitations to family events always came with a "if Anna is not on duty, of course." I saw as Natalia Nikolaevna put me at the end of the table, away from the respect guests. And above all, he heard what they said when they thought he wasn't around. "Son, I got a perfect girl for you," said Natalia Nikolaevna one Sunday. "Larissa Petrovskik, remember? The one that defended doctorate in Moscow. It's on vacation here. You're Anya until you are a working, but it's not our level. What are people going to say?" I prepared something in the kitchen, but the cardboard walls hid nothing. Kirill cut dry. "Mom, enough. Anna is my wife. If anyone doesn't like it, not mine, not mine. Happiness is good, son, but think of the children. They will need a good school, and there the parent committee requires contacts. Will your Anonynia negotiate with other nurses?" The door knocked. Kirill entered the kitchen, hugged me from behind, burying his face on my shoulder. He apologized for a long time, swore he loved me. But I saw something break in it day. He understood, for the Korolyov, I will always be an intruder. The turning point happened 3 months before Kirill's death. We were in the wedding of his cousin Vadim, another drunkenness of the Korolyov clan in a Barnaul restaurant, where I smiled forcibly from my corner. For a break, I went to touch up the makeup. Upon returning to the side door, I caught the family in the smokers' area, arguing excitedly. "Listen here, tall and of course," said Uncle Gina, brother of Roman Andreevich. "What if anything happens to Kiryuka? God forbid, of course. How are we going to share the house? This nurse can begin to demand rights." "What rights?" patted Roman Andreevich, exhalado smoke. "At most the mandatory part, if it is by justice. But we have the will. We'll dispute if necessary." Roman Andreevich's voice cut the air, thick as the smoke he exuded between his teeth. "We will say that you wrote under pressure, already sick. We will find witnesses." Timofey took the cue, turning to the father with a wolf smile. "Dad, the clinic is in the name of Kiryuka. We rewrite the documents. It's not the first time. I have a trusted lawyer in regional administration. It doesn't even take a business kopeck." German added, with a dry laugh, "The important thing is that it disappears quickly when the time comes. I know the type. He grabs like tick, not letting out. Or understand alone that it is better to get out of soft." Natia Nikolaevna cut, her cold eyes like steel. "In Barnaul, gossip fly. Who will want to fame a widow who steals heritage from the dead husband?" Vadim laughed loudly, hitting the palm. "Or get a lover while Kiryuka still breathes. Then he turns into a police and scandal in the press." That laughter turned me my stomach. They spoke of Kirill's death like a bureaucratic process, a detail to be resolved between a coffee and a cigarette. He planned the sharing of goods as if he were already in the morgue, his body still hot under the plastic sheet. I went back to the hall from another corridor, sitting in my place with cold hands. Kirill, oblivious to everything, told Uncle Gina about the miraculous operation in Filin, the hawk at the Wild Animal Rehabilitation Center. "Imagine, Gina, the wing was torn to almost the bone, but we managed to save. Now it flies." His eyes shone, his hands drew the points of the suture in the air, as if not just strands, but hope. The relatives nodded with false smiles, chewing canapés as if chewing patience as well. At that moment I understood, they did not underestimate him. They didn't even know him. For them, Kirill was just a name in a will, a blank check to be filled when the paint of life dried. They didn't see the man who spent nights in clear saving dogs run over on the roads, who operated wounded birds without charging a ruble, who chose to love an inconvenient woman instead of marrying a deputy's daughter, as the family so insisted. In the car, on the way home, I couldn't stand it anymore. "Kirill, I heard your family. In the smokers' area. Talking about how to share everything after you, my voice failed. He braked abruptly, his face is a shadow mask. What, exactly? That you will die, and how they will expel me from the house. As they will contest any right of mine. As if I were already an intruder. He held the steering wheel until his fingers were white. Then he covered my hand with his, rough and hot. Anya, we need to talk. Really. I postponed important things, but after what happened today. Enough. That night changed everything. At home, Kirill took from the bar a brandy he kept for special occasions, gift from grateful customers. It served a glass, drank from a sip, as if you needed the burning to keep your voice firm. I already knew how they treated you. I always expected them to change, to see you what I see. But today I heard enough. He turned to the window, where the garden we planted together in the spring past was lost in the darkness. They planned to expel you since our wedding day, Anya. For them, you are temporary. And uncomfortable to be removed when they invite them. He approached, his hard eyes like stone. But they don't know something. He opened the drawer of the desk and pulled a thick paste, stamped with the seal of a registry office. I have a will. The first one, I did a year after the wedding, when we renovated the house. But 3 months ago, after a conversation with Vardium, I decided to redo it from scratch. With Chaikin. The name of the lawyer echoed as a sentence. Remember him? He helped the Veselov in the divorce last year. One of the best in inheritances in the region. He spread the documents on the kitchen table. Here it is. Half of the house is already your donation. I signed the papers for 2 years, remember? Those documents I asked you to stamp in the notary? Yeah. Now it's official, you own 50%. The rest, the other half of the house, the clinic, the accounts, the actions, everything goes to you. Notarial, registered, iron clauses. He handed me an envelope. Foot. Inside, a letter written by hand, with its firm letter. For my family, he began. If you're reading this, it's because I'm not here to protect Anya from your cruelty. 8 years I watched the way they treat you, as a maid, as a hindrance to be tolerated until disappears. You made it clear that for you, it's not a problem. 3 pages. Kirill listed every humiliation, every conversation about recovering what's from the family, every plan to throw me on the street. Chaikin noticed everything. There are safe copies, recorded on the electronic system. If something happens to me, he gets in touch with you immediately. His voice didn't train. And there is more. Anyone who tries to contest the will bear all the court costs. My parents, by law, are entitled to the mandatory part, you can't get it out of them. But it's derisory compared to the rest. I raised my eyes, stunned. Kirill. Why didn't you tell me before? He smiled, a sad smile, who has carried the weight of the world alone for a long time. I expected not to need. I thought that, in time, they would understand. But when your own mother argues how to get rid your family while your son is still alive, he swallowed hard. Then you realize that some people only understand in strength. He held my hands, his fingers intertwined with mine. Now we live. We love. We build. But if one day I am not here, you are protected. They won't be able to intimidate you. They won't take what we built together. And then, 6 weeks later, the diagnosis fell like a tombstone. Pancreatic cancer, stage 4. It started with abdominal pain, we thought it was gastritis, by the night shifts. By the time we reached the oncologist, the metastatics had already spread as a poison through the abdominal cavity. How long? I asked, a voice a thread. 6 months, at most. With chemotherapy, if you answer well. Dr. Smirnova, from the regional cancer dispensary, spoke low, as if the volume could cushion the blow. Kirill heard the sentence in silence. The same night, he called Chaikin. Igor, it's Korolyov. We need to accelerate the will. Urgent. And come directly to the hospital, you have to authenticate for a serious patient. In the next 2 weeks, while Kirill began the first round of chemotherapy, Chaikin appeared 3 times on his bed. The law requires the notary to move to terminal patients. We review each tergula, every clause. On the last visit, Chaikin adjusted the glasses and suggested, Given the willingness of your family, I recommend including an explicit warning. Any attempt to contest the will result in court costs for the plaintiffs. You cannot remove the mandatory part of your parents, but Kirill nodded. Do. And add this, dictated, while Chaikin scored, the pen scratching the paper like a knife. To those who try to disrespect my last will, I remember, the law has no greed of greed. And I, even less. The lawyer adjusted the glasses with a slow gesture, as if every second of hesitation were a concession to those who had already lost the right to patience. The non-camper are entitled to the mandatory part by law, he clarified, but this represents only 1/8 of what they would receive without a will. Kirill nodded, her lips tight on a thin line. Leave everything recorded with the utmost clarity. And don't forget the procedural costs. Anna needed to be armored against them. The worse was the state of Kirill, the more blatant became his family. They often visited him, but his words were only calculations: who would stay with the house, as the clinic clients would divide, which furniture was family. The pain was an uncomfortable detail. The morphine, distributed by rigid quotas, forced alternatives, the fire burned in the veins as a punishment for still breathing. One day, while Kirill was sleeping under the effect of the painkiller, Natalia N. Ikolivna approached a knife smile Anechka. Honey, have you thought where you will live? 6 months of inventory were an eternity. Maybe go back to your family. I'm going to stay at my house, Anna answered, the firm voice as seasoned steel. Natalia Nikolaevna sighed, as if her daughter-in-law's stubbornness were a child's whim. While the procedures don't solve, then you will want something smaller yourself. This house is too big for one person. And the taxes, Roman Andreevich added, adjusting the gold clock, the neighbors already ask in the street group. It would be strange a stranger here. They looked at her like a maid with salary per hour, a disposable piece on their board. Anna kept silence. Kirill had been clear, don't show the cards ahead of time. But their audacity was a poison that erodes patience. The worst happened 2 days before he died. German and Timofey came to visit their brother, but their whispers in the hallway were knives. We started to remove valuable things as soon as. Of course, before she tries to seize something, the father agreed. And the padlocks we exchanged today. Then the clinic, Petrov, from the industrial sector, wants to buy the space or at least rent. The clientele, it takes. Let's see. Anna froze by the bedroom door, listening to her life in dry phrases, while Kirill, 3 meters away, was fighting death under a serum bag. At night, he told him everything. Even weak, his eyes burned in fury. Are you already sharing? I fear yes. Kirill closed his eyes, then opened them with a determination that cut as glass. Anna, promise, when they come, and they will come soon, don't let yourself be broken. You are entitled to everything we build. Chaikin knows what to do. 6 months of inventory. Use them with intelligence. And, with a voice hoarse for the disease, don't feel blame when fighting them. Chose how to treat you. Now they reap what they planted. I promise, whispered Anna, squeezing her hand as if she could transfer her own strength. Kirill died on a Tuesday of October, with golden rays driving the curtains of the room where they had loved, dreamed, aged together. His last breath was a goodbye Anna kept as an oath. 2 days later, the funeral in the church of Alexandra Nevsky, the same altar where, 8 years earlier, exchanged alliances. The Korolyov took everything, pushing it to the background as an uncomfortable accessory. Anna, honey, you'll be on the second bank, Natalia Nikolaevna announced on the morning of the ceremony. The first is for the family. Anna nodded, not reminding them that by law she was the family. His presence there was already a concession to their hypocrisy. In the cemetery, Roman Andreevich intercepted her by the fresh tomb. After 9 days, we discussed the practical details. The house needs to be prepared. German and the family move in May. Where? To your house, he answered, as if it were obvious. He always wanted to return to Barnaul. It is the place of the family. 6 months of inventory until spring, everything will be resolved. Anna stared at him, stunned by the disadvantage. It's my house. He was Kirill, he corrected dryly. You were your wife. Thank you for your care. But now, by law, Heritage returns to the heirs. I'm also a first-rate heiress. His face darkened. Let's see what the documents say. There was no prenuptial agreement, right? No, then we'll see. That night Anna slept at her sister's house, Jeanette, in Vlasiha. I needed air, away from the Korolyov sainting. What do you mean, they expel you from your own home? Jeanette exploded when he heard their plans. You were married 8 years. By law, you inherit. They bet I won't fight. Or that I will intimidate myself. Oborzeli, cursed Jeanette. Go to the registry tomorrow. Anna smiled sadly. Kirill has already taken care of everything. The inventory was opened yesterday. Your own notary was admitted. In rural day after the funeral, he returned to the house that still smelled of Kirill. I wanted silence, time to keep your things. But when he folded the street, he saw Roman Andreevich's gazelle and German van in the backyard. He remained in the car, watching the window as they emptied the house like vultures. Not even 9 days waited. Not even mourning. They only took what they judged there by the right to blood. He took off his cell phone. Igor Sergeyevich, it's Anna Korolyova. They are removing things from the house. Where are you? In the street. It is only 3 days. Don't they know you arrived? No. And they didn't even expect the 9 days. Perfect, Chaikin said, the sharp voice. Don't come in my own. I'll be there in 20 minutes with the documents. And I already called the police. This is pure will. Remember what Kirill said? What to do the grave itself. Exactly. Are the neighbors seeing? Anna looked around. Curtains moved, curious faces peered. Everyone is looking. Excellent. Witnesses will be useful. While waiting, he saw Roman Andreevich coordinate his children as a campaign general. At Gazelle, they stacked their grandmother's carved chair, inheritance of the maternal line. It was then that something inside her broke. He got out of the car, walked to the door, and stood in the stop, watching the loot. Roman Andreevich, seeing her, didn't even win. He came back early. We thought it would stay with his sister until the 40 days, while we resolved everything. What did they solve what? The change. We are preparing the house for German theft, you mean? Don't be ridiculous. Your personal things are separated. After the inventory, take what is up to you by law. Anna stared at him, marveling with such certainty. The inventory has already been opened. 3 days ago. What? Who opened? Kirill's notary. By the will. His face contracted. What will? Before he could answer, Chaikin's silver Camry stopped in front of the house, followed by a police car. Roman Andreevich paled by recognizing Barnaul's most feared notary. Mr. Korolyov, Chaikin called, climbing the steps with a thick pace. I'm Igor Sergeyevich Chaikin, notary of the late Kirill Romanovich. You are committing an unlawful act. I don't understand, stammered Roman Andreevich. We are heirs. Chaikin waved to the police. Please register the flagrant of possessive rubble. Mr. Korolyov and his children are removing property from property without consent of the legitimate owner. What owner? Exploded Herman, the congested face of indignation. This is our family home. Half belongs to Anna Korolyova by donation since 2022. Chaikin didn't even win. He opened the folder with a calculated gesture and slid his finger over the upper document. The other half was left to her by will. Her voice cut the air like a blade. You are on a property that is not your own, removing goods that do not belong to you. We can contest the will, shouted Timofey, his fists clenched. They can try. Chaikin nodded, cold. For the judiciary. Meanwhile, he gestured for the police. Return everything to the place. The Korolyov looked at each other, the initial arrogance collapsing in confusion, then fury. While the officers wrote the flagrant auto, Chaikin spread the papers on the kitchen table. One by one, the family members clustered, the pale faces as the details were being revealed. Testament signed 6 months ago, notarially authenticated, recorded in the notary's electronic system, Chaikin, methodic, said. Kirill Romanovich left all his heritage to his wife. The house. The veterinary clinic in Lviv. The center of welfare on Melodioznaya Street. Bank accounts. Titles. All. But we are the parents. Switching Natalia Nikolaevna, his handy hands. We are entitled to the mandatory part. Absolutely. Chaikin did not shake himself. As non-self-sufficient pensioners, you are entitled to half of what they would receive. By legitimate inheritance. With 3 first-rate heirs, this is equivalent to 1/6 of heritage for each. Made a strategic break. That is, 1/3 in total. 1/3 of the house is ours. Roman Andreevich already calculated, his eyes shining. No. The notary shook his head relentless. Half of the house already belongs to Anna Korolyova in her own right. Donation of 2022, registered in the Rosregister. The hereditary mass includes only the other half. Your mandatory part? He smiled, almost imperceptibly. 1/6 of that half. That is, a 12 grandmother of the house. To the 2. The silence that followed was sharp. Herman seemed to have punched his stomach. That's almost nothing. Besides, Chaikin removed a letter from the envelope. There is this statement by Kirill Romanovich. And started reading aloud. As the words of the deceased echoed through the kitchen years of humiliation, the family planned to expel him, the betrayal disguised as concern. The Korolyov paled. Natalia Nikolaevna led her hand to her mouth. Timofey turned his face, as if the words burned. You can dispute the will, Chaikin concluded, closing the folder with a snap. But consider, legal costs, fees, attorney's fees, all on your own. And the perspectives. He looked at them one by one. Fish. Especially with this document. Let's go. Gross Roman Andreevich, the hoarse voice. I have contacts. It's your right. Chaikin shrugged. But for now, they return what they took. The officers will supervise. Until dusk, the house was intact. Under the awareness of the police, the Korolyov returned each object subtracted. The officer on duty drawn up the auto for arbitrary exercise of his own reasons, Article 330 of the Penal Code. The neighbors, eager for details, gave testimonials without blinking. In a matter of hours, the news spread like fire in dry straw. Groups of parents of the Nice school. Forums of the district of Nagani on VK. Condominium chats on WhatsApp. Everyone discussed the same scandal. How the Korolyov tried to strip the widow on the 3rd day after the funeral. The veterinary clinic, which Roman Andreevich had already promised Petrov, was out of the question. The transfer of the limited company required the signing of the heiress. Herman had to explain to his wife why the change to Barnaul, so announced, was indeterminately suspended. Timofey, who dreamed of taking command of the clinic, saw her ambitions crushed in seconds. Natalia Nikolaevna, proud of her status in society, dared not to appear anymore neither in the church nor in her charity committee. But the most cruel blow was to Roman Andreevich. The man who had spent his life preaching family values and the sacredness of the blood now faced the naked truth. His own son had protected his wife against the greed of the family. And it had done so irrefutable that not even its connections could dismantle. That night I was alone in the kitchen, Kirill's letter between my fingers. Outside, the neighbors still muttered about the day, but I could only think of one thing. My husband's greatest legacy was not the walls, nor the bank extracts. It was proof of his love, iron and concrete, stamped, registered, to the cheat proof. Justice had not triumphed because I had sought her, but because Kirill knew her family better than themselves. And he had built such a solid legal fortress that all his maneuvers bumped into the cold letter of the law. On the 9th day, they attended the funerals. They sat in silence, ate kutia without erecting their eyes. Until Roman Andreevich approached, the voice a forced murmur. Anna, let's go to an agreement. No processes. We remove the contestation. You pay us a compensation for the mandatory part. I looked at him, Serena. Look for my notary. The answer was a verdict. All within the law, Roman Andreevich. How do you always like? You.